is the moment we waited for. Everything you want is right here. We gon' give them what they came for. We gon' take it up from last year. Shoot on my shot, boy, I'm long range. Me and the team on the same thing. Stayed down, never switched up. Only thing changed was the game. I'm in the zone now. Nothing can change what we on now. When I pull up, know it's going down. Foot on the gas, ain't no slowing down.
Welcome to another edition of the Hits Cavalier podcast. Sorry about that, man. It has been a long 48 hours. It has been a long 48 hours in Cleveland. And I don't even know how to verbalize how I feel right now, because part of me wants to genuinely give this an opportunity, right? I legitimately want to give this an opportunity, but at the same time, I'm not a huge fan. I'm going to have to be sold by the on-court product. I'm not going to lie to you guys. As I mentioned on the other social media outlets, one of the biggest things that I pride myself on is my fandom for the Cavaliers first. I am a Cavaliers fan first, and whether they make a move for a player I despise, a player that I'm not that interested in, I will always try and go in with an open mind. And the Cavaliers may very well not be finished, right? There's so many rumors floating around about a potential Giannis trade that is still technically on the table. I think that there are other avenues that they could explore. We've heard everything from LeBron to Giannis and more. Lonzo being moved. There are definitely a lot of additional things that could happen. But as of right now, all we can say is that James Harden is officially a Cleveland Cavalier. Now, obviously, the deal has not become like official, right? He hasn't made his debut. He hasn't done this and that. But he will likely be donning the white and gold for the foreseeable future, at least as it relates to this season. Couple of quick reminders in case you didn't catch the stream earlier on today. One of the more underrated aspects of a move like this is simply the fact that the Cavaliers do have an avenue to clear cap if this does not work out. But to be quite honest with you guys, I would be very, very surprised if the Cavaliers traded for James Harden and without the assurance that he is going to resign. Like, that's just where we are right now. And I think that you're going to have to wait and see. Obviously, nobody truly knows the future, but as of right now, he's a Cleveland Cavalier. So we do kind of have to afford him the open-mindedness that goes along with any one of these moves. It won't be the first time this type of thing happens. And to be honest with you, yeah, sucks to see Darius Garland go out the way that he did. Really helped kick off the turnaround here. I think that obviously there are other pieces that go right along with that over the years. You have Colin Sexton. He played his role. Ricky Rubio was a huge driving factor in the Cavaliers taking the next step. Obviously, the drafting of Evan Mobley. There's so many different factors. The evolution of this team over the years has been nothing short of interesting, right? And obviously, with the acquisition of Donovan Mitchell, one thing that I think that was universally understood was that the timeline would be expedited in regards to contention. After a 2021-22 season in which the Cavaliers were found money and essentially playing with house money, nobody had any real expectations for this team. That shifted so damn quickly upon the acquisition of Donovan Mitchell. And what does that mean? It means that more was needed out of Darius Garland as the second option. It means that more was needed out of Evan Mobley in a short span of time. More was needed out of Jarrett Allen, et cetera, et cetera. More was needed out of Isaac Okoro. He's no longer a Cavalier. All of these different things that changed the dynamic here for Darius Garland and company. But Here's the thing. Life comes at you fast in NBA. It is a what have you done lately for me league. And no matter how many All-Stars you have made, no matter how great of a regular season that you have throughout the years, all boils down to is postseason success once you get to this point, especially when you have Donovan Mitchell as your running back. So this is where we find ourselves. And they may very well not be finished. But as I said earlier in the stream a couple hours ago, before we knew this would be official, I'm going to give this an opportunity because James Harden is still an exceptionally skilled offensive talent. He is somebody that will, in fact, play make the hell out of the basketball. We know that he is excellent as an on-ball creator, not only for himself, but for others. And I think we all understand that he is a superior talent to Darius Garland. Even at 36 years old, that's just the reality of the situation. I'm hoping that we get a very, very bought-in James Harden because from an intangible standpoint, Harden has always had the ability to be a competent defender on that end due to his size. He's somebody that can rack up a ton of deflections out there, but I don't expect that consistently to go along with the offensive orchestration from a playmaking standpoint and to go along with being able to shoulder more of the offensive load from Donovan Mitchell. And that's a huge factor in this because Don has routinely been one of the only players, maybe the only player consistently stepping up. He has his flaws, and that's just the reality of Donovan Mitchell as your lead guard. But there will be an interesting adjustment period here. There will be a time frame where these two are going to have to coexist and learn how to do that on the fly. And it's going to take some time. I think that we all understand how great of a player, at least from an offensive standpoint, Harden can be, but it does come with its caveats. Number one, I pointed this out earlier, the usage rate. The role, right? That is definitely going to be something to take note of and keep track of. I pulled this out earlier, and I'll mention it again now. I will mention it again now. The utilization rates for James Harden is sky high. We'll get to him in a minute. But Donovan Mitchell, 100th percentile among combo guards this season in usage rate. That's 33.4%. There's nobody that is ranked above him in terms of usage and having the ball in his hands. As for James Harden, he is in the 93rd percentile among point guards. It's an even higher usage rate, but as a lead guard, oftentimes you are tasked with handling the ball a lot more. And so while he may have a higher usage percentage, there are other players at his position that have an even higher one. The only players ahead of him right now are Luka, Ja Morant, and SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And you got James Harden here at 34.9%. So there's going to be an adjustment. I'm very, very interested to see how the dynamics will work with that. I am most certain that the Cavaliers will have to stagger the minutes of these two a lot, and probably honestly, a lot more than you had to do with Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell, just because of the on-ball abilities of both. And neither are great off the ball. Yes, they can both knock down shots, but Harden and Donovan Mitchell, if we're being honest and unbiased, they are not great cutters. At least consistently. Donovan can do it. James, you're not getting too much cutting out of him. You're not getting too much off-ball movement from him. But at the same time, like the offensive talents, because he's a maestro. He is somebody that does tend to elevate the bigs. That is something that I think has been missing for most of the season just because you've relied upon Donovan Mitchell for so long to create due to the unavailability of Darius Garland. And that's not nothing. I think adding somebody the caliber of a playmaker will help really continue to keep the bigs involved, whether or not Jarrett Allen is still here or you're leaning more on Evan Mobley at the 5 or whatever direction they decide to go in. But the point is that he does have that ability to elevate the bigs out there. We've seen him do it with Clint Capella for years. He's done it with Ivica Zubac, and those are some pretty good names to be attached to. So I completely understand how one would come to the opinion that James Harden will elevate the bigs here in Cleveland. But the question still remains, like, are Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen still going to be Cleveland Cavaliers after the deadline? That's the crazy part. And we really just don't know how everything is going to end here. But this is quite the doozy. This has been one hell of a trade deadline, and we are not even finished yet. That's the crazy shit about it, right? And in case you hadn't seen, the actual reporting on this is that the Cavaliers have traded Darius and a second-round pick for James Harden. They did not, it does not look like, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but it does not look like they actually get a pick back. They traded a pick. They traded a pick plus Garland to get James Harden. So that's not something that should be glazed over either. That's something to keep in mind. I think they were hoping to get additional draft compensation for making this move. I know that was a key piece of this, but apparently they must have backed off. All that I know is that I don't think we're done yet. I don't think that we have seen the last of the moves here, and we shall see how this ends up playing out prior to Thursday's deadline. But this is going to be rough, at least for the next 24 to 48 hours until the deadline is passed, to see what other moves the Cavaliers make, whether they go all and acquire a Giannis, whether or not Lonzo is moved, as people have mentioned, whether or not Jarrett Allen is still on the roster or not. There's so many unanswered questions. You really just don't know, man. You really don't know. And if I am being completely objective, again, James Harden, and I will continue to say this, phenomenal talent. My questions have never been on necessarily the offensive side of the ball. Hell, I can live with James Harden on defense at times. My questions right now, and this is where James is going to have to prove a lot of people wrong. Are you going to quit? If things get rough in Cleveland, are you going to opt out the way that you have on other rosters? A lot of this simply boils down to the money. Let's be honest. James Harden won an additional $80 million for 2 seasons. He did not get that with LA. They were not going to give that to him. They were not interested in giving that to him. So, are you going to commit? Because the crazy thing to me is, it's not like the Clippers were terrible as of late. They've been playing some of the best basketball of their season, which is the crazy thing. That's the thing that I cannot wrap my head around. That is the thing that I cannot wrap my head around, because as of right now, the Los Angeles Clippers have won 7 of their last 3 games. I know at least one of those. I can't remember how many games Harden's been out, but I know he hasn't been in the lineup for the last 1 to 2. Probably because of this deal. But that's the question. Will you commit? Will you be somebody that does not give up when the Cavs are struggling? Because there will be an adjustment period. There will be an adjustment period. That's not about the on-court talent. He has that. Yeah, the fit concerns are a little bit there. And you can argue that the heliocentric nature of James Harden's game, combined with a pretty heliocentric style in Donovan Mitchell too, very, very ball-dominant guys. You can argue there's some fit concerns there, but they're so offensively talented. I think we at least have to give them the benefit of the doubt right now. Let's see what they can do. And you've made some moves additionally, right? You brought in Keon Ellis for the perimeter defense and shooting out on the perimeter. You brought in Dennis Schroeder, somebody who is a capable, very capable backup ball handler and can spot start. Somebody who will put pressure on the rim with a lot of drives, 10.1 per game to be exact. You brought some of these pieces in, and I fully anticipate Kenny Atkinson will make the best use of them. But this is where we find ourselves. I'm going to try and give him the benefit of the doubt right now. I'm going to try and be open-minded about this. And let me be honest with you guys. This is this may come off as controversial. I know I've mentioned this on the podcast in the past, and I'm just painting a correlation here just in case. I was not necessarily the biggest fan of the Donovan Mitchell deal at the time that it was made. I felt that we gave up a lot. I felt like Lauri Markkanen, Colin Sexton, the picks, Ochai Agbaji, that was a lot at the time. But to me, Donovan Mitchell made me change my mind really quickly. Now, obviously, that comes along with the territory if you win basketball games and if you impact them at the highest level, if you're able to bring a winning culture to the table like Donovan Mitchell did. That changed a lot of people's minds very quickly because there was a lot of people that felt like that. And maybe it could be the same thing with James Harden, but it's truly difficult to discern which version of him we're going to get. Because again, this is not a team in the Clippers that had been struggling lately. They came into today winners of 7 of their last 10 games. That's not nothing. Yes, they are. I think they're 9th seeded in the West, but at 23-36 after the start that they had, that's absolutely crazy to me. You had the whole situation with Chris Paul. You had some of the back and forths with Tyronn Lue and Paul, and a lot of anonymous quotes being mentioned about supporting Chris Paul. You had the situation with Kawhi Leonard and what was aspiration. There's just so many things that have gone crazy for them this year off the court, yet they have found a way on it to improve, and they've been playing better basketball. So that, from an on-court perspective, you have to wonder why James Harden went out of that, and it all boils down to money. That's what it is. He wanted more money. They were not likely to give that to him. They basically said, we're not interested in doing that. And they've been working to facilitate a move. And that's exactly what has happened. Has happened. For Cleveland, here's the deal. Darius Garland had been initially ruled out for, I think, was it 7 to 10 days, right? 7 to 10 day time frame. We didn't get an update on that. That left me to believe that they maybe evaluated him, decided that, hey, this guy is not coming back the same way that he once was. He is not going to be that same type of player that he once was, at least this year. And they decided it's time to move on. I can understand that. I can certainly understand that, hey, this is our time. This is our best chance to win a title. This is our best opportunity to take advantage of Donovan Mitchell's prime. Because again, I'll point this out. I pointed this out earlier probably 3,000 times, so I apologize if I sound like a broken record. But Donovan Mitchell is 29. He is not a spring chicken anymore. He is dead in the midst of his athletic prime. He's never going to get better than he is right now, in my opinion. So I can understand why you would want to take advantage of this window that you have in the Eastern Conference that is wide open right now. Boston is better than I think a lot of people thought they would be without Jason Tatum, and he might come back. Indiana obviously is a completely different team than they were last year because of the injury to Tyrese Halliburton and the departure of Miles Turner and a couple of other developments there. Detroit is the current number 1 seed, but I don't think anybody looks at Detroit as an unbeatable piece of an unbeatable team in the Eastern Conference. They're just the current leader in the standings, and they do present a formidable challenge from a physicality standpoint, but nothing about them says that they're truly better than everybody else in the East in a 7-game series. They are the best of the bunch right now, but I think that this type of move signals that the Cavaliers feel like they have what it takes to overtake them. Obviously, there's still that elephant in the room that is Giannis. And if they are able to bring in a Giannis, this makes a lot more sense than it does right now. Let's just be honest. Because what the Cavaliers have essentially done is punt on the long-term outlook in exchange for short-term success. And there are those of you out there that may believe, what long-term? That, well, there's nothing to mortgage. The Cavaliers as currently constructed are not going to win a title. And to that I say, it's not simply about title contention. It's about having the assets to rebuild if you need to. And right now, you're on a fine line between balancing out the future and the present. They made this move. They did not get any draft compensation back. That's a miss to me, but you could argue, obviously, that Darius Garland's value is in the shitter right now. So you can understand that to a degree. But I still think that does not bode well for their chances to capitalize on others. Jarrett Allen, we already know that he is somebody that the Cavaliers are shopping right now. Excuse me. It does not make me feel good about the potential to get back true draft compensation for that. There is every bit the reality that the Cavaliers get half a season of James Harden. This shit doesn't go well, and he opts out of his player option. But on the flip side of that, the Cavaliers open up a ton of salary space to sign a bigger fish. That's a possibility. But in saying that, we also have to understand that if that does happen, there is also a strong possibility that Donovan Mitchell says, man, this shit is not going to work out here. It didn't work out with Darius. It did not work out with James Harden. And this is me, thinking about the hypotheticals here. And I'm out. That leaves you with little draft compensation because Don will likely have said, I'm not re-signing here, which lowers his value. And you don't even know what's going to end up happening with Evan Mobley. Evan Mobley could be on the move for Giannis. And speaking of Giannis, if you do trade Evan Mobley for Giannis or some combination that you're able to cobble together to acquire him from a salary matching standpoint, which feels basically impossible without Evan, there's a very real possibility that you could fuck this all up and lose all three. You could lose James, you could lose Don, you could lose Giannis. And by virtue of Giannis, you lose your future in Evan. So there's so many different things that could go wrong here. It's such a huge gamble that the Cavaliers are taking with this one. And so I want to make that crystal clear. This is not me saying this is what's going to happen. This is me saying this could potentially happen. And this is a potential outcome, right? I'm just looking at the outcomes. There's also a huge possibility that this works out. If the Cavaliers run through the Eastern Conference, they get to the finals, and even if they don't win, James says, yeah, this is progress, and this is farther than I made it in a long time. There's every bit the possibility that Donovan Mitchell says this is progress, and I'm willing to sign on the dotted line. There's every bit the possibility that with Giannis, the Cavaliers are able to compete with anybody, including some of the Western Conference juggernauts out there, whether that be the OKC Thunder, whether that be the San Antonio Spurs. There's a bunch of teams out west, honestly, that could do damage. You never really know, whether that be Denver or Houston or Minnesota. And there's a lot of moves right now. But what I know is this. The future is not written yet. And this is why I continue to say I'm going to give this an opportunity. I'm going to stay open-minded because I'm a Cavaliers fan first. I have my favorite players, just like everybody else out there. I don't work for the organization, and I'm a fan just like you guys. I'm just a fan with a podcast. So we'll see where this goes. There are some positives here. There are some potential risks and negatives here, obviously. But, you got to accept the fact that we don't really know what's going to happen. The future is wide open. Future is wide open. So we shall see what ends up happening here. But I just gotta be objective in my analysis right now, just because we don't really know which version of James Harden we're gonna get. I don't love this deal, let me clarify, but I'm not going to bury it either until I see the encore product, until I see what Kenny Atkinson is able to do with this. So, yes, I will put myself on record, just like I said with the Donovan Mitchell deal. How long has it been? 4 years now? I don't love the deal, but I'll give it a chance because just like I said with Donovan, he changed my mind very quickly. Maybe James can do the same, but the difference is here stark. Let's be honest. When Donovan Mitchell got here, Donovan Mitchell was 26. He was in his age 26 season. James Harden is 36 right now, going on 37. So this is a huge gamble here because you're potentially saying we're punting on, I don't know, maybe a 4 to 5 seasons worth of draft capital and potential rebuild, having some draft picks available to you to kick off a rebuild if you need to. You're potentially kickstarting off another short-term window of potential title contention that is probably no more than a season and a half, because right now we're halfway into the season. That's where we are. I mean, we traded in Darius Garland, who admittedly, right, if you look at this from an objective standpoint, not be biased. Again, I'm a huge Darius Garland fan. Funny story, I haven't pointed this out. I don't think I've actually shown this to people because I haven't hung it up the same way that I have the autographed Larry Nance Jr. jersey. But I actually have, and this is kind of thanks to my wife here, who was very, very quick about it when we were at a game. I have a Donovan Mitchell jersey that is signed by Darius Garland, if you can believe that. I say all this to say that though I am a fan of individual players, I have my favorites. I'm still a Cavaliers fan at heart. I am still a Cavaliers fan at heart. And so I'm willing to give this an opportunity, just like I will with other things. We shall see how this plays out. But man, oh man, this is a big one. If you're swinging for the fences, and it's now or never for Cleveland, who apparently was worried that Donovan Mitchell would not resign with the team, this is one way to appease him, I suppose. Because as of right now, again, I'm not gonna mince words here. Cleveland is a small market team. It's not a lot of times in Cleveland Cavaliers history that teams have wanted to come, or players have wanted to come to Cleveland. Just the reality of the situation. Don didn't even want to fucking come here, but guess what? The Cavaliers traded for him. You really never know. You really never know. So I completely understand it. You're trying to appease Don, the true star, the biggest star in town, or at least from a basketball perspective. Let's not go overboard. He's still, Jose Ramirez is probably the biggest thing cooking in Cleveland, followed by Myles Garrett and then Donovan Mitchell. But you get the point. Donovan is the star of the team, and so the Cavaliers will do what they can to retain the services of him. He is a top 10 player, and you do whatever you can to keep those, because in a city like Cleveland, it's hard to get guys to actually want to do that. So let's try and be objective. Listen, I'm not going to sit up here and tell you that I love this, because I don't. But I'm going to try and give it a chance, an opportunity. And ultimately, if it not work out, there is an avenue. There is an avenue to a pivot, right? It's got the $42 million player option. Maybe he says, I don't want to be here long term. Maybe things don't go well and he opts out, and the Cavaliers are able to replace him somehow. But you really don't know. We got to let the rest of the season play out. Fuck, we got to let the rest of the trade deadline. We got to let this pass. To me, I do think it's a panic move. I'm not giving it a high grade right now, especially considering the fact that you didn't get any picks back as of right now. I mean, and that can change. There can be additional things added in, right? It's not finalized. And oftentimes you'll see guys, or rather teams, jump in. And this is how we got Jarrett Allen, right? When James Harden was traded was traded, right? That's how we got Jarrett Allen in the first place. I'm sure we all know this. And so as of right now, I don't love it just because you actually paid LA to take on Darius Garland's contract. And again, you can sit here and say he had negative value, and that's fine. I completely understand that, especially with the injuries. But to not at least get a pick back, I hate that. And again, that can change, but we'll have to see if anything is attached or any other teams are attached to this, or if they're able to make this like a 3 or 4 team deal with Lonzo Ball being included or something like that. We'll end up seeing what ends up happening. But as of right now, I gotta admit, I do think the Clippers are getting the better end of the stick here, purely based upon the fact that they were at least able to get a draft pick back in this. And you can say it's just a second round pick all you want, but in this current CBA, hell, with this current Cavaliers team, how important have second round picks been? How important has the opportunities to draft deeper into a draft been? How important are undrafted gems been? It's important. The draft compensation is important, especially when your cupboard's already pretty bare. That's all I'm trying to say. But again, I'm going to stay open-minded with this. I'm going to try and give him the availability in my mind to change it, right? I'm going to give him the chance to change my mind. We'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. In terms of the on-court perspective, James adds a lot. He is a supremely talented scorer of the basketball. He is somebody that will continuously involve your bigs. He is somebody that is a better positional rebounder than Darius Garland, obviously. He's got size. Yeah, he's not spry. He's 36 years old. He's far from his athletic prime, but his game has aged gracefully because he was never truly relying upon athleticism. Never truly relying upon athleticism. And so right now, he's putting up really fucking good averages. 25.4 points, 4.8 rebounds, 8.1 assists. And he's in pretty good territory in doing that. There are not many guys that can put up those totals on a nightly basis. Even if you ran that through a statistical tracker to see how many different players are putting up those averages, that's pretty substantial. What I say, 25, 4, and 8, that is good stuff. You cannot argue there. You cannot argue with that. There are 21 players in the NBA that are averaging at least 25 points. When you factor in assist, that amount dwindles down to 4 players. There are 4 players in the entire NBA who are averaging at least 25 points and 8 assists. Luka Doncic, Nikola Jokic, James Harden, and Cade Cunningham. All of those guys are really better rebounders, obviously, than James. So I'll cut off the rebounds. But it should also be noted that this has not been his most efficient season. Harden, as of right now, shooting 41.9% from the field, and he's only shooting 34.7% from three-point distance. And I think that matters from an efficiency standpoint. But as of right now, coming into a team that has great shooters in the likes of Sam Merrill and the likes of Jalen Tyson and the likes of Donovan Mitchell, right? There's a number of really good shooters, Keon Ellis, and the list goes on and on. There are a lot of guys on this team that can shoot the lights out from three-point range and will make you pay for leaving them open. And James will get them open looks, whether that be driving and kicking, whether that be his sheer on-ball gravity. There is something to be said of that, alongside playing with Donovan Mitchell. That's going to get guys open looks, and that has to be taken into consideration if we are being fair and honest in our observations. You guys may not know it, but he is actually in the 100th percentile, which is crazy in terms of overall gravity. That is A plus grade over on B-ball index. There, he is third out of 520 qualifying players there. Let that sink in. He is ranked third in overall gravity out of 500 plus players. People have to pay attention to him. You guys already knew that, but it's always nice to get a stat to that speaks to the film that you are seeing as well. In terms of off-ball gravity, which I already mentioned, right? Not the very best off-ball player in terms of ball movement, but his sheer presence out there demands coverage. He's in the 71st percentile in off-ball gravity. That's a B grade over on B-ball index. Three-point shot creation, 100th percentile. Three-point shot making efficiency, 97th percentile. Three-point pull-up talent, 99th percentile. This motherfucker just grades highly in terms of the perimeter shot and drawing the defense's attention. In terms of the playmaking, he is in the 99th percentile in playmaking talent, the 98th in passing creation volume, the 89th in passing creation quality. That's important. Passing efficiency, 4th percentile. Not always the best in terms of efficiency, but he is a high-level passer. In terms of the types of passes that he can make, i.e. the passing versatility, the 99th percentile. That's crazy. He is 5th out of 513 qualifying players. And the big thing here, right? The big thing, defense. Here's the deal. Darius Garland routinely received a lot of flack for the defensive side of the basketball. James Harden is not a great defender. James Harden is actually in the 71st percentile in terms of perimeter isolation defense this season. He's never graded truly that well. The one area where he has excelled this year has been pickpocketing. 83rd percentile. The difference here is James is taller. And at 6'5", there's a lot more room for error in terms of defensive coverage, purely dependent upon that and your wingspan out there. We already know Darius Garland wasn't the longest, most athletic defender. And there's something to be said for that. That cannot be ignored. There is an obvious size component to this. This makes the backcourt bigger. James Harden is 6'5", maybe 6'6" on a good day, and 220 pounds. It's not thin. Donovan Mitchell is 6'3". So Donovan Mitchell instantly becomes the shortest player in the starting lineup at 6'3". And depending upon what else happens, that could change too, right? But as of right now, Donovan Mitchell becomes the shortest player in the starting lineup at 6'3". James at 6'5". I would assume that Jalen Tyson remains in town and isn't included in any Giannis deals, but they may ask for him alongside Evan Mobley. They're asking for a lot, but I would assume that Jalen Tyson remains a starter at the 3. And if Evan Mobley does not get moved for Giannis, Evan at the 4, and then obviously Jarrett at the 5 if he is not moved. And this is such a toss-up. But I say all this to say that there's a huge size disparity here, and you have to understand that you have to come into this with the thought process that there is a completely different type of player that is arriving here in James Harden than there is in Darius Garland. From a stature standpoint, from a offensive dominance standpoint, I mean, we've seen this guy do some crazy shit this year. But to me, that's where it ends from a defensive standpoint. Darius is not really any worse of a defender. He's just shorter. But from the offensive perspective, James is superior talent. So you do have to give him the credit where he deserves. And I think that's fair. Again, I'm trying to be as objective as I can here, but you can see why the Cavaliers may have wanted to put James Harden beside Donovan Mitchell. And I think that's fair to consider that. And again, so much of this for me, it's not about the on-court stuff, because I know that he is an extremely talented player. I've always known that. Problem is that James Harden is not always the most bought in player, and he is very, very prone to quitting. He's done that quite a lot in his career. When things get bad, shit, even now, things weren't all that bad. He's quit. Let's just be honest. Let's just be honest. So if he comes in excited to be a Cavalier, if he comes in and he's bought in to the approach that Kenny Atkinson has bestowed upon the rest of the team, this could work out. However, there's also a huge possibility that it doesn't. Let's just be honest. I'm like, that's about as honest as I can be about this. There's obviously a financial component to it. I've mentioned this numerous times. You have a couple of hard outs, a couple of pivots, and that's a huge factor here too. But the on-court stuff, we'll have to see that play out. And I do think it bears mention that Donovan Mitchell actually essentially okayed this. If Donovan Mitchell, your best player, is telling you, I'd be okay with James Harden, he's given his blessing. And I think that means something. That says a lot. Even without him saying, I don't believe in Darius Garland getting back to the player that he once was, or being able to help elevate this team to title contention, even if he didn't say that out of his mouth, that's essentially what he said by endorsing Harden. Let that sink in. So we'll have to see. It's a big gamble, but I'm willing to give it a chance. And that's really all I can say. I see all the comments. There's probably well over 1,000 comments in here right now, so I cannot address all of them. And each and everybody in here, I appreciate you for being here, even if you're not a subscriber or a fan of the Cavaliers. I'm sure there's a lot of people in here that aren't. Hey, if you aren't, do your boy a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to this Cavalier podcast. Do the same for the Positive Hooper channel as well. But again, we are just scratching the surface of potential moves here. I don't think this is the end. I do think that we see a couple additional ones, and we'll end up with a much different team than we started a week ago. I mean, listen, if you would have told me that 7 to 10 days prior that we would be without Darius Garland, we would be without DeAndre Hunter, we would potentially be without Lonzo Ball, potentially without Jarrett Allen, potentially without Evan Mobley, I would have laughed. Some of that we knew. Some of that was understood universally. We already thought coming in that, yeah, Lonzo, he's gone. We already thought that DeAndre, there's a huge chance that he gets moved because he was making $23.3 million and he hadn't been a good return on investment. But players like Darius Garland, players like Jarrett Allen, they're a lot less likely to be moved. And so again, if you are the Cavaliers and you evaluate Darius after that 7 to 10 day period, and it is to your knowledge that he's just not going to be the same player that he once was, I get it. But again, if you were to tell me that all of these changes would have been made or potentially would have been made, I would have laughed. That's all that I can say. And I'll leave it at that. Let's see here. What we got in the chat? Nate, nice to see you. You were a ghost the other day. So this is the one thing that I'll say. I know a lot of you people in here weren't in the chat after that game against the Portland Trailblazers. But Nate, you were a no-show. Jarrett put up 40 points, 17 rebounds, 5 assists, put a historical stat line out there. And I told you that I had to pick on you just because. So I'm not letting that slide. Come to the front of the line here. You were definitely You were definitely a no-show for that one. So thoughts on that game? I just want to hear your thoughts on that. You are not here for the smoke, as D Sleazy says. I don't know. In and out of the abyss asks, you think Kenny can make Harden better at moving without the ball? Listen, no. He's 36, man. Like the old adage, you can't teach a dog new tricks, usually applies. It's correct most of the time. It's not always the case. Sometimes guys legitimately do improve later on in their careers and add new tricks to their games. But if I was a betting man, no, I don't think so, which is why there is some hesitancy on my part to completely lean in here until I see it on the court. No, we have been saying this shit about Donovan Mitchell for a long time now, haven't we? How many games have we said to ourselves, I wish Donovan Mitchell would move a lot more without the ball. I wish Donovan would cut more. I wish Donovan would use his athleticism more to his advantage off the ball. We've said that for 3 seasons now. That shit has not worked out. So if you're asking me, honestly, if you believe that, if I believe that he'll end up helping James become a better off-ball mover, no, I don't think so. I think they're banking on the on-ball abilities of both to get them there. I think that's what it simply boils down to. I don't know. I can't say that is set in stone, but I have to go off of the history that I have here with James Harden. It's just, as an off-ball player, that's not his best. It's not his best strong suit. Listen, for the Los Angeles Clippers this season, he is literally he's received an F grade in terms of cuts and dump ball frequency percentage. What does that mean? For those of you who are unaware, that means that he does not cut at all. In terms of the play types, he does not cut. 0th, and that's not even a correct term, but 0% percentile in terms of cuts and dump ball frequency. Just not who he is. Spot up frequency. That's another part of playing off the ball, being able to be a catch and shooter. 34th percentile. And I think that has to be that can be said for Donovan Mitchell and to a degree Darius Garland, but this just goes to show the types of guards that you've had in house for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And I don't necessarily think you need him to cut, but you do need him to be a viable off-ball player, because both of them, you're not going to be able to stagger their minutes all the time. They will start games together. They will end games together for as long as they are both on this roster. So that means that, yeah, you do have to be somewhat of an off-ball contributor. And this is a big step up in usage rate between Darius and James. Darius pales in comparison to James Harden in terms of usage. I mean, I don't think a lot of people are understanding that. I don't think a lot of people understand that. Is James Harden better? Obviously. But there's going to be a real adjustment here because James is a very heliocentric player. The offense often revolves around him like it does in Detroit with Cade Cunningham. Does that mean it's impossible for these guys to coexist? No. But it means that there are going to be certain challenges that the people need to understand. Truly. It's not going to be as simple as, oh, it's your turn, it's my turn. Because we've seen how problematic that can be for teams. We'll see, man. We'll see how it ends up playing out. If I'm being honest with you now, I just don't think that'll be something that ends up changing anytime soon. Let's see here. More Mrs. Forgive me if I mispronounce this. Was it Mr. Sam or Mrs. AM? I don't know. Either way, Harden is a living legend, kind of looked down on in a weird way. It is weird because, again, objectively, this is a supremely gifted basketball player. This is somebody who is an immediate first ballot Hall of Famer. But there's a certain stench that surrounds that surrounds him because of his playoff choking, because of his attitude, because of his quitting. That is not something that can be overlooked. He just quit. He literally just quit on the Los Angeles Clippers. I mean, we can all say, "Oh, that's that's in the past," but he literally just quit on his most recent team. You got to be 100, man. Yeah, you got to be 100. And at 36 years old, this dude, he cares about the money. He's not going to be in the NBA much longer. I would say James Harden probably retires before the age of 40. Does that mean he has to? No, I think his game has aged to a point where, yeah, if he wanted to continue playing in up to age 40, he could. But he cares about his money. He wanted $80 million over 2 seasons. I would assume the Cavaliers are willing to give that to him. If they are going to trade for him, I would assume that one of two things. Again, they're willing to give him that bread, or they want him for a season or for half a season and are okay if he walks because they know from a salary perspective that will help them. $42 million worth of help. I don't know, man. There's just so much. There's just so much to consider here. And I'm trying to, I think I saw a comment in here talking about going through the stages of grief here. I call it what you want. I'm literally trying to talk myself into this. Some of you may think that I'm an idiot for that and that should just buy in just because of the caliber of player that he is. But I got to tell you, I just don't think it is that simple. I just don't. With James Harden, it is never that simple. You think you're getting this really dominant piece, and then it just doesn't work out. So he has to prove me wrong. Got to prove me wrong. Again, going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to try. Definitely going to try. Again, they may not be done. I will feel 10 times better about this if I see that they are able to acquire Giannis somehow. If Giannis and James, and because again, I said this earlier. A starting lineup that includes James Harden, Donovan Mitchell, and Giannis that's a pretty fucking good lineup. Maybe the depth is gutted, depending upon how much you had to pay to get them. But I mean, you got to admit that is a damn alluring lineup, at least in name. On court product, you don't know. I don't know, but we also have to understand that it's not as if James Harden has not played on stacked teams in the past. He's played with some high level talents. He played with KD and Kyrie, and that didn't work out for a multitude of reasons. And that wasn't all on Harden, obviously. Some injuries played a role there. Kyrie Irving being a knucklehead while he was there played a role. He's played with Chris Paul. He's played with Russell Westbrook, obviously. He's been with PG. He's been with Kawhi. And it just never seems to work out. So, I mean, you gotta understand what you're getting yourself into here is what I'm trying to say. It is never as straightforward as this guy is this good and it's going to work out, because that is rarely the case in the NBA. I mean, it just what it is. I want to see what they end up doing with the rest of this roster, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see. I'm trying to be objective here. I'm trying to be objective. Bo KAJ8 says Harden has the body shape. If he doesn't stay moving around, he can get fat easily. Yeah. I mean, who am I to speak on another man's physique? I mean, I don't really want to clown him too much. Body weight is a very difficult thing. Let's see here. JP World says Tyson will become a corner dude. I don't think we want that, obviously, but I think the one thing that Jalen has shown is that he is an exceptionally gifted off-ball piece. Really, really good off-ball. That is what makes him such a good player in the starting lineup, because he does not require a ton of touches. He can play off the ball. He can knock down the off-ball shot, catch and shoot mostly, and he's a pretty freaking good cutter. He is somebody that has become both a pick and roll ball handler and a pick and roll man, which is pretty cool to see out of a 6'5", combo or a wing, whatever you want to term him as. But I don't think it really has an effect or an impact on Tyson, because it's not like Tyson was handling the rock a ton. One thing I will say, though, is that I do think that the opportunities to handle will be dwindling, purely because, again, James and Donovan, they are extremely high level usage players, extremely ball dominant players. And yeah, there's going to be more sacrificing going on than ever. If Evan Mobley makes it through this trade deadline and isn't moved for Giannis, if Jarrett Allen makes it through this trade deadline and isn't moved for somebody else, they're mostly off ball, in my opinion. And you can argue that obviously that's how it should be for Jarrett Allen. That's fine. But Evan Mobley as your third option, maybe, I don't know. Who's your third option? Who do you consider your third option in the starting lineup if you don't trade for a Giannis? Is it Tyson? Is it Mobley? That's a tough ask right now, because I think that the on-ball touches is going to be an interesting thing to track. Evan Mobley certainly, in my opinion, will lose on-ball touches. He will certainly be more off-ball than he probably has been this year. It is what it is. And again, even if it is that way and Tyson isn't your third best player, his malleability in the starting lineup as an off-ball piece, that's pretty important. You need guys like that who don't need the ball in their hands to be impactful. I don't know. We'll have to see how this all plays out. I think about an hour into this is probably a good time to get out of here and see what else happens. But you guys know I'll be right here either way, come rain or shine, because I'm a Cavaliers fan through and through, and I'm going to try and give this an opportunity before I immediately just am turned off to the trade of James Harden. I want to see how this plays out. Again, I'm not a huge fan of it, but there is an opportunity for that to change, just like it did with Donovan Mitchell. We'll see. We shall see. And I don't want to go and leave the stream without, at the very least, giving the fair share to Darius Garland. Clown me all you want. Say whatever you got to say in the chat. I don't really care. I'll be honest with you guys. Darius Garland is a huge piece of the Cavaliers getting to where they are. Not the biggest, nevertheless, a huge piece. And I want to see him be successful wherever he goes. And, obviously he's going to be a Los Angeles Clipper now, but wherever he goes in his NBA career, I will always be a fan of Darius Garland. Sucks that things ended the way that they did. Sucks that his body essentially betrayed him. But he gave his all, in my opinion. You guys, there are people in this chat that will routinely tell you that he's soft and that he didn't try and play through his injuries, but look where that got him. It's part of the reason why he is here now. That's just me being honest. I will always root for Darius Garland wherever he goes. I didn't want to leave the podcast without mentioning that. Gotta give him his credit. He had his flaws, and that is not likely to change moving forward. To be honest with you guys, he may very well never be the type of player that he once was because of the toe injuries. But I do wish him the very best. I'm going to try and approach this with an open mind, though, and I hope you guys will too. I truly do. As always, tell you guys, if you'd like to reach out to me, now I can. It's Cavalier_pod on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and more. If you want to be added to It's Cavalier Discord chat, you know what to do. Leave a rating, leave a review, send a screenshot of said review to itscavalier53@gmail.com, and I will send you said invite. If you're still here by chance, do your boy a favor, whether you're over on Twitter or Twitch or YouTube, hit that like button. Subscribe if you're not yet a subscriber to the It's Cavalier podcast. And again, do the same for Positive Hooper. I'm trying to grow that channel, trying to get past 150 within the next month or so over there. And I'm trying to post content a little bit more often over there. Go Cavs.